Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Sandra Maharaj and this is TTT News. It's time for the headlines. Turf clash challenge at Laventille Technology Center. Prime Minister says it's premature to say that Paria Fuel Trading Company is for sale. This as he defends rental at 1 Alexandra Place. Attorney General to write to the Privy Council over what he says were untruths told by Anand Ramlogan. And in sport, TNT ladies hoping for win over Bajans in T20 Blast. Operations at the MIC Institute Laventille Technology Center are being hindered by an apparent turf clash. The concern arose as officials of the MIC appeared before Parliament's Joint Select Committee on Monday. Janine Brown reports.
The Laventille Technology Center is located along the Eastern Main Road and because of its close proximity, facilitates mainly students from the Beetham and Laventille communities. But according to an official of the institute, accommodating students from both areas in the same space has proven to be challenging.
We have found it necessary that it is challenging for us to have both groups of persons in the Laventille technology because it leads to fighting and so forth. So most times, and the students or their parents will come and tell you that they cannot access training in that center because of the warring between the factions in those areas.
The situation has led the institute to request the presence of armed officers at the site, a precautionary measure that costs an additional $7,000 per week. Citing the fact that government subventions to MIC have been cut by 50% over the last 3 years, MIC's chairman, Professor Clement Imbert, says the figure isn't exactly easy to pay out.
What we have discussed at MIC is that we could offer training to the TTPS to offset that huge amount that we have to pay for that protection.
Back in September 2018, the MIC was one of 3 tertiary institutions who signed an MOU with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to provide university-level training to officers at the police academy. But at present, any assistance offered by MIC to the TTPS is done pro bono. Professor Imbert is hoping both parties can come to some sort of agreement in trading services. Janine Brown, TTT News.
Meanwhile, Police Commissioner Gary Griffith says the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is not in the process of bartering their services. TTT contacted Commissioner Griffith via WhatsApp for his response on the statements by officials at MIC. Mr. Griffith said there are hundreds of similar state boards, communities, neighborhoods and organizations, both private and public, that seek 24/7 police presence. He added that's obviously impossible, and the TTPS has to utilize its strength and resources and in an effective manner. The top cop added, however, as with all stakeholders, he's more than willing to meet for discussion. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says crime fighting is not just a matter for the police. He says it's a question of parenting, personal responsibility and lifestyle. Dr. Rowley is encouraging communities to take a more hands-on approach when it comes to reducing crime. He was asked if he himself felt safe in Trinidad and Tobago, considering the increasing amount of criminal activity.
But given the reckless behavior of some people, there are things that you have to always be aware of your personal surroundings, your personal safety. And whereas there was a time when certain things were not in front of you, I grew up in an environment where I can tell you no. Exactly where I was and how I felt the first time there was a murder in my district. And that happened when I was about 8 years old.
When it comes to the safety of citizens, he says the government has made significant steps.
The presence of those officers whose job it is to respond to the criminal element, they successfully would bring that. As they get more and more success, it would bring that sense of fear down, because the fear of crime is experienced by everybody in this country, from Prime Minister to everybody else.
And the Prime Minister says it's premature to say that the Paria Fuel Trading Company Limited is for sale. In a 2-hour live television interview, Dr. Rowley said he's hoping to have it leased in a matter of months. He said he's not sure of the value of barrier and the criteria for a lease.
The experts within the company will deal with that and their advisors. And of course, the proposal is what I'm going to be focusing on at the level of the cabinet. What is going to happen? Somebody will want the refinery for lease. At what cost? The company will determine that. To buy at what cost? Because it has a value which can be established.
And Dr. Rowley said he's hoping to have the Guaracara refinery leased in a matter of months.
The quicker we get the refinery operating, the better, because its absence is what you were referring to, causing certain hardships. The quicker we get the refinery started, and this is not the first time this has happened anywhere in the world, you know. I mean, there's a refinery in Aruba, which only recently was supposed to be restarted, or is going to be restarted. That refinery has been shut down for years because a supply of oil wasn't available to it.
The Prime Minister has also defended the government's multi-million-dollar rental of 1 Alexandra Place, which is linked to the Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi. He said once the person linked to the property recuses himself from the negotiations, there's no corruption.
And when you rent from somebody, you're not giving them money. You're buying a service from them. And in the government system, there are procedures available when the government wants a building, or if there's a building for rent, and the government, any aspect of any arm of the government, whether it's WASA or central government, there are procedures in place. In this case, I can tell you, the cabinet was aware and took steps to ensure that there was no conflict of interest in there.
2 weeks ago, Minister of Public Administration Marlene MacDonald defended the government's decision in the House of Representatives. She specifically responded to statements by the opposition leader that the rental of the building was a conflict of interest. Dr. Rowley said all of the terms of the property were beneficial to the state.
I am not one of those who are of the view that if a job is available and somebody in the PNM is qualified, that person shouldn't get it because he's PNM. I'm not of the view that if a building exists in Port of Spain for rent and the government department that rents the building wants to rent it, that it shouldn't be rented because it belongs to somebody in the PNM.
The United National Congress says the Prime Minister's interview on a morning program today, Monday, is nothing but government PR. Public Relations Officer of the party, Anita Haynes, said Prime Minister Rowley spent 2 hours on the show in a bid to repair his government's image and deflect attention from its failures. She said instead of engaging in PR and wasting citizens' time, the Prime Minister should have spent his time accounting to the people of the country. Commenting on the Prime Minister's decision to defend the Attorney General on the 1 Alexandra Place issue, Ms. Haynes said the Attorney General's claim that he recused himself was not enough. She said it was highly unethical and quite possibly illegal. Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi says he intends to write to the Privy Council about the appearance of his predecessor Anand Ramlogan at the Privy Council in a matter against Petrotrin. The Privy Council has expressed an element of discomfort over the appearance of Anand Ramlogan in a matter against Petrotrin, which was initiated while he was the Attorney General. Mr. Ramlogan, along with Richard Clayton, QC, and others, appeared before the Privy Council on March 20th. The Attorney General says during the sitting, Mr. Ramlogan told blatant untruths.
Mr. Ramlogan, in the presence of the full committee of the Privy Council, should never have told the court that he stopped being the Attorney General in January 2014. That is untrue. It is false. Secondly, Mr. Ramlogan's position, as raised by the Privy Council, is untrue in the answer given.
The case brought by social activist Ravi Balgovan Maharaj against Petrotrin seeks to overrule the decision of the High Court seeking judicial review of a Freedom of Information request. Attorney General Al-Rawi says Mr. Ramlogan also misled the Privy Council when he implied that the case against Petrotrin and its former chairman Malcolm Jones was authorized by then People's Partnership Cabinet.
Contrary to Mr. Ramlogan's statements via Mr. Clayton to the Privy Council, there was no cabinet decision to sue Malcolm Jones. That is an untruth. There was no factual matrix other than Anand Ramlogan having advised Petrotrin to take action against Malcolm Jones. That therefore demonstrates that Mr. Ram Logan was completely untruthful to the Privy Council.
Well, remember, you can also keep up to date with the latest stories on Facebook and Twitter at TTT Live Online. Well, sports news is up next. Stay with us.
There's no time like now and no show like ours. Start your day with a smile and view TTT every morning at 6 a.m. as Lisa, Rishi and Carrie keep you in the know with what's trending on social media, the island vibe, and bring you the latest from the worlds of sport, technology, current affairs, and much more. Who says informative can be fun? Now, shaping tomorrow today, weekdays at 6 a.m. on TTT, Talk City 91.1 FM, and streaming live on Facebook at TTT Live Online.
Well, it's crunch time again for the TNT ladies as they face the old nemesis Barbados in a virtual final of the West Indies T20 Blaze Cup over in Guyana. The TNT ladies are unbeaten so far in the shortest version of the tournament, but need to overcome pre-tournament favourites Barbados in order to wrest the title. The Marissa Aguilera-led national team have been impressive in both the 50 overs tournament as well as in the 20 overs versions, but lost to the Bajans in the one-day format and are desperate to avoid a defeat in the shorter version. Once again, TNT will be relying on the in-form Stacey Ann King and Brittany Cooper with the bat, while Anissa Mohammed and fellow spinner Karishma Ramharak. The Bajan dynamo Deandra Dottin's all-round prowess undermined TNT the last time they met, and she poses the biggest threat again in this one, which bowls off at the Guyana National Stadium in Providence at 9 a.m. local time. Former West Indies vice-captain Derek Murray has hailed the appointment of Ricky Skerritt to the post of President of Cricket West Indies, calling it a step in the right direction. But as we hear from Ruskin Mark, there's a lot more that Murray wants to see happening with the sport in the region.
I'm very, very pleased about the change in the leadership of the West Indies Cricket Board, and I think now we look forward to the board being able to function in a way that will enhance the opportunities for cricket to come to the fore, and that our cricket can actually be revitalized.
Murray added that the results took him by a bit of a surprise given the governance structures that exist in West Indies cricket as well as the other regional boards.
Well, I was surprised at the victory because it's very easy for elections in small bodies, and particularly the way the West Indies Cricket Board is constructed, to be manipulated. And so it was a surprise, a very pleasant surprise, and we look forward to better days ahead.
Murray liked the gesture of reaching out to the former players and even the ones who will have to carry the torch going forward.
And you need the current players to be the role models, to be the heroes for the younger ones to look at. So you need to embrace those players and make sure that they come back into the fold. There may not be too many adjustments that you could make in that short space of time, but at least if you start by making sure that your 11 best players are on the field for that, that's a start, and that will be a big fillip for the West Indian public that continues to love the game and support the West Indies cricket team.
Murray also wants to see a lot more being done about development and the many structures which have failed the sport in the past. Oscar Mark, TTT Sport.
European football's crackdown against racist behaviour by supporters has continued with punishments for Croatian champions GNK Dynamo and Ukraine's Dynamo Kiev. Last week, UEFA ordered Italy's Lazio, Ukrainian champions Shakhtar Donetsk and Czech side Slavia Prague to play their next home European ties in front of partially closed stadiums following racist chanting and other crowd disturbances in recent UEFA League matches. And on Monday, UEFA's Control, Ethics and Disciplinary Body ruled that GNK Dynamo's next 2 home games in European competition should take place behind closed doors, with the second of those games deferred for 2 years, while Dynamo Kiev were given the lesser sanction of a partial closure. Cash Ali's boxing license has been suspended pending a hearing. The British Boxing Board of Control has made the announcement. Ali was disqualified for biting David Price during a heavyweight bout and has also had his purse, estimated to be in the region of £20,000, withheld minus expenses. The incident happened in round 5 when 35-year-old Price landed a fierce blow on the previously undefeated Ali. He reacted by forcing his opponent to the canvas, where he was seen to bite Price, leaving a visible mark on his torso. The referee, Mark Lyson, who had earlier docked Ali a point for hitting the back of Price's head, immediately disqualified him and awarded the victory to Price, who had been ahead on the scorecards. The build-up to the annual Great Race has started in earnest when the Powerboats Association hosted another regatta, which serves as a warm-up for the competing boats. Ruskin Mark has more on a big showing by the powerhouse Paramount, which looked like the one to beat again this year.
The fans turned up for this one, hoping to catch an early glimpse of the boats as they start to fine-tune for the big one later in the year. And they weren't disappointed, as some of the usual suspects had entered the race to gauge where they are in relation to the other boats, especially those in their category. It wasn't too long before they were racing, and as suspected, big boat Paramount was taking no prisoners as they zoomed out to the early lead and dared the others to catch up. It was a message sent to the likes of Mr. Solo and Fire One, as these big boys are expected to engage in one big catfight on the way to Tobago in the big event. But as is usually the case in this sport, things can go wrong very quickly for some. The smaller boats also showed good movement in the water, with the likes of Energizer sitting beautifully in the water in third. Also making great numbers was Heatwave, the E-Class boat that will take some beating again this year. The Little Cigarette Hero 3 was ever present as they work out the kinks in the boat so that by the time the Great Race rolls around, there will be little or no issues with the boat. In fact, that goes for all the boats who use occasions like these to not just win, but to also stress out the boat and see how it responds to different tests so it can be trimmed just right for the big one. But from the look of things, Paramount will take some beating as the speed was definitely there. And although the crew of Mr. Solo is a cagey bunch who may just have been playing coy on the day, hoping to spring a surprise when it matters the most. Ruskin Mark, TTT Sports.
Los Angeles Lakers star LeBron James has told The Athletic he will not play for Team USA in this summer's FIBA World Cup in China and never intended to. The team will be coached by Greg Popovich, one of James's favorite coaches, but the aging superstar insists the decision not to play this summer was made a long time ago. Instead, James will train and film Space Jam 2, which will be released in July 2021. According to The Athletic, the movie's production schedule was set based on the knowledge that James would not play this summer. But James, a two-time Olympic gold medalist, has not ruled out playing for Team USA in the 2020 Summer Olympics in Japan, indicating that, if healthy, he will definitely consider playing in Tokyo. Well, that's it for sport, and we have more news coming up. Stay with us.
Reach further when you advertise with TTT, Suite 100, Next 99.1, and at Talk City 91.1 FM. Whether it's television, radio, or social media, our stations belong to the only broadcast network with 100% coverage across Trinidad and Tobago. That's a fact. From Port of Spain to Point Fortin, Crown Point to Charlottesville, every household in TNT can easily access our signal. TTT remains the only broadcaster with live capability from multiple locations in the country, making us the most dependable source of information for events of national importance. Find us on any smart device at TTT Live Online. Are you ready to reach further with your advertising? Contact our sales team now. Call us at 622-4141 at extensions 2601 to 2607 or email us at sales@ttt.co.tt.
The weather is brought to you in part by the Water and Sewerage Authority. Water, use what you need.
It's a new month, but the harsh dry season continues across Trinidad and Tobago. and the reservoirs remain low. We've been tracking them since the beginning of the dry season in January. And just to give you the update, at Navet, which is still the lowest of the reservoirs across Trinidad and Tobago, just around half, where usually it's about 3/4 at this time of the year. And the satellite picture doesn't show much in terms of a moisture set to come by, possibility of maybe just a few clouds coming by up towards the Windward Islands, but overall you'll still be seeing those clear skies at least tonight and some sunshine through the first part of Tuesday. But there will be some cloudiness drifting in from the north, from Grenada, eventually reaching into Tobago, so we could be seeing a few showers developing by late afternoon and going into the evening. Similarly, for Trinidad, a clear, cool night for quite a few of you. A few showers along the east coast, maybe pushing into Piarco, and during the latter half of the day, do watch out for a bit of cloudiness, maybe beginning to drift south into Toco, but definitely looking for a lot more moisture by the time we get to later Tuesday evening and then going into Wednesday before we see a few showers coming by. So temperature-wise tonight, low of 23 degrees Celsius in Trinidad, 26 in Tobago, and temperatures will remain subdued on Wednesday. All of that moisture drifting south from Grenada will continue to bring some showers then. Possibility of some spells of rain as well that may well taper off until Thursday. Heading offshore, those easterly winds remain and are turning quite fresh at times from with 20 knots expected, and we could be seeing those slight seas of 1.5 meters in the Atlantic, maybe building close to 2.5 meters by the time we get to late on a Tuesday going into Wednesday, but more so through midweek as those fresh winds continue to rip the waves. So that's your weather, and that's it from me.
The weather was brought to you in part by the Water and Sewage Authority. Water, use what you need.
Welcome back. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and Director of the Children's Authority, Safia Noel, thinks it imperative to educate the public on all forms of abuse. During a press conference at the authority's Wrightson Road office on Monday, she said neglect, sexual and physical abuse are the most reported forms of abuse in this country. She said, however, this month special emphasis will be placed on the prevalence of emotional and psychological abuse and the many ways in which it's manifested.
We have a propensity to use name-calling to denigrate persons and children. Sometimes we call them stupid and worthless or worthless, as we say. Sometimes we negatively compare them to siblings. Why you are not as behaved as your sister. And what we find happening sometimes is that as parents, we often, when we are upset with another partner, when in a broken relationship, we say you are like this, like your father, or like this, like your mother. And all of that those are forms of abuse.
She reminded parents that it's their primary responsibility to care for, educate and protect their children. We do apologize for that. Authority Chairman Hanif Benjamin said in keeping with this year's theme, Strong and Thriving Families, the authority aims to promote healthy parenting through engagement with the public. And we have more news coming up. Don't go away.
To Sunday, get lost in the world of award-winning films. Green Days by the River, April 21st at 3 p.m. Be viewing TTT to experience the breathtaking film adaptation of Michael Anthony's beloved novel. Voted People's Choice for Best Narrative Feature at the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival. Recipient of the Carmichael Award for Exceptional Storytelling at the Barbados Independent Film Festival. Green Days by the River proves that locally produced films will captivate you and transport you to other worlds. A tale of love, loss, and intrigue. Green Days by the River premieres April 21st only on TTT.
Trinidad and Tobago will have to invest a minimum of $3 billion to make it a competitive player in the technical and vocational realm. The estimation comes from Chairman of the MIC Institute, Professor Clement Imbe, who made the statement while appearing before a joint select committee of Parliament. He said the figure is a far cry from the kind of investment currently being made.
Korea was an agrarian economy. The phone that you are probably using was made in South Korea. You probably drive a car from them. You probably play music on something from them. They spent several percentage points of their GDP on innovation. In Trinidad and Tobago, we spend a small fraction. You have to put a point and a zero before you could get to a figure.
And as the Ministry of Education prepares to roll out its national education policy, Acting Permanent Secretary Leno Batiste Simmons gave the assurance that it will include a more direct focus on innovation.
One of the things we would have done is that we'd have done at least 2 national consultations, which would have weighed heavily with respect to the TVET. So we know that we have included within that those areas. The tertiary and the TVET, we looked at the ECCE, and then we are trying to see how best we can bring it all under the Education Act. So those are areas that are going to, as you said, are going to be prominence-based.
Social media posts indicating that Powergen's property on Wrightson Road has been sold to the Anson McCall group of companies are false. In a media release this afternoon, Powergen put the rumours to rest and advised that its Port of Spain property is still vested in the company. Powergen says there are no discussions or arrangements at this time for the sale of the property to any entity. Caribbean Airlines has relaunched its website www.caribbean-airlines.com. According to the local carrier, the site has been redesigned to be user-friendly with improved navigation and functionality. The new website showcases the airline's products and services, the new corporate campaign, the Caribbean identity, and information on all Caribbean Airlines destinations. CEO Garvin Madeira said, CAL's customers are at the core of all the decisions the airlines make, and they know that more and more of them are booking their flights online. The new look and feel of the website is a direct response to customer feedback. Some of the other features of the new website include relevant and refreshing Caribbean content, specifically the Caribbean trends and destinations pages, and easier ways to book flights, cars, or hotels. Here now is a recap of tonight's top stories. Turf clash challenge at Laventille Center. Prime Minister says it's premature to say that Paria Fuel Trading Company is for sale. This as he defends rental at 1 Alexandra Place. The Attorney General has written to the Privy Council over what he says were untruths told by Anand Ramlogan. And in sport, TNT ladies are hoping for a win over Bajans in T20 Blast. Well, that's a wrap on this evening's TTT News. On behalf of all of us here, I'm Sandra Maharaj. You have a wonderful night.